Hello and welcome to Lead by Example,
the podcast discussing current social justice issues.
Before you listen to this podcast, we just want to give you a quick disclaimer.
We are in no way an authority on these issues.
Our intention is to open healthy discussions without being insensitive.
Due to the length of this podcast, we are aware that we may not cover every intersection of injustice.
However, our aim is to build an understanding of all types of social issues which are intrinsically connected so that they can be better addressed.
We encourage anyone listening to this podcast to take part in the discussions and feel free to ask any questions or suggest topics to us. We hope you enjoy today's podcast. Hello friends, we are going to talk about body image and self-image and all of those kinds of things today. Yeah.
It's something that is like spoken about quite a lot, but I don't think enough. I think because it's quite prevalent in a lot of conversations, people think that we've done it and like we've like succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have such a long way to go in terms of like body image conversations. And people feeling comfortable with how they look. I think because we went through that era in like I want to say 90s, noughties, like early 2000s, where the message from a lot of media was that if you're skinny then you're beautiful. And then because we went through that and we've like identified that like a little bit and said actually you don't have to be skinny to be beautiful. People think that because they've heard a little bit of that conversation, like they've heard a few messages like that, then we're over it, it's good. But I think what people forget is that the inherent messaging that we are absorbing all the time is a lot more, it's a lot deeper and it's a lot like more instilled in you than you realise, and it's not going to take someone just saying, oh no, that's not true, for you to get rid of it.
Yeah. And also like the methods of which that you target it and make yourself feel better need to be addressed as well, because I, like, just as you were talking, I was remembering, I can't remember who it was, I think I must have been about 14 or 15, and I was like feeling insecure about my body. I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, oh no, but it's because I was basically upset that I wasn't more curvy. And they were like, oh no, but it's fine because you're skinny, and guys really like skinny girls and they much prefer a skinny girl over a girl with big boobs. And so then for like a while that was like my way of making myself feel better, was to be like, oh, at least I'm skinny. And like how not only negative is that to me, because like then as I put on weight or as my weight fluctuates, I then like grasp onto that for dear life, and I'm like, oh, I need to be skinny, I need to stay skinny, like, because that's the one thing I've got, kind of thing. But then also if I'm thinking that in my head, that's going to come out in my actions and in what I say, and so that's going to affect anyone around me who doesn't like identify themselves as particularly skinny, and they're going to feel inadequate because of it, because I'm, you know, affirming myself for being skinny. And they're like, oh, well, I don't have that, so how do I affirm myself? And so we've got to encourage the right ways of self-love, I guess, the right methods to be healthy, not only to yourself, but to everyone around you that you interact with.
Yeah, a solution isn't saying like, yeah, you've got this that makes you attractive. The solution would be more productive if it doesn't matter. Like that's not where your value is placed.
Yeah, because by picking out certain things, you're still comparing yourself to other people, and you're still kind of giving yourself a leg up, more like, well, they don't have this that I've got. And like comparisons are just not the way forward. Like we say it all the time, that comparison is like, what is it, the killer of joy?
The thief of joy.
The thief of joy. And yeah, you're not gonna get anywhere with self-love and uplifting other people if you keep if the way that you get your affirmation is from comparison and from I've got this, you don't have that.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Because sorry.
That's right.
Because if that's how you're gonna like live your life, that's how you're gonna go around treating other people, then basically you're trying to make yourself feel better by putting other people down.
Right.
Which we just know is not
Yeah.
a good solution
Yeah,
in general.
yeah.
Of course it's not. And we can't replace one toxic view of body image with another toxic view of body image. Bloody hell, that's hard to say. Because we know it doesn't work that way. So it's not like, oh, but if we do it this way, then it's gonna be better. Like, for example, Kim Kardashian people say that Kim Kardashian has made curvy bodies attractive. Fashionable. Because before she kind of came around, that whole kind of heroin chic thing was attractive, and also like seen as attractive, and so a lot of people have kind of grasped onto that idea of, oh well, this is such a better, healthier view of body image, but it's just as toxic. And the fact is, not everyone will have that specific body type, and therefore there will be still people who will be struggling with their body image because they don't look like that.
Yeah.
So you can't replace one with another. So the way forward isn't going to be, replacing one toxic view with another toxic view. We should probably talk about not just physical, like body image as well, just in general image, I think, is like, can be pretty toxic as well. Like, I remember when I was younger, seeing something in a magazine. It's one of these things, you know, when you just remember messaging that's been fed to you, but you don't actually remember the specifics of it, you just remember the message. So it was something in a magazine about celebrities' faces, and scientists had discovered that the key to being attractive is having a symmetrical face. And so that triggered my insecurity. I've got an itch on my head. Triggered my insecurity about, you know how I was saying the other day, one side of my lips is like this and one side of my lips is like this, and it's not symmetrical. And so that has, just the fact that it said scientists say that being attractive is being symmetrical. And now I can't get that out of my head.
Yeah.
With creating your Instagram persona to look a certain way that everyone else looks, like this Instagram aesthetic, you're making a statement by doing that. You're affecting other people. You're not doing that on your own, as I always say, in a vacuum. Like, you're not separate to the rest of the world. People are looking at that and they're taking that in.
Yeah, I think social media is such a interesting one to look at because it can be the source of so much self-hatred, because the vast majority of people on social media are presenting tiny snippets of their life, like a top hits of their life, and posting it on social media as, this is my life, this is what I do every day, this is me. And it's presented as, this is me. And like, I've done it, and like, it's not something that we do consciously, like, oh, I'm gonna make sure not to show them all of this stuff in my life. It's just naturally we enjoy sharing the positive parts of our life. So we've almost got to consciously think about, how transparent am I being, and how do I want to present myself online in a less harmful way? Because people look at your profile and you look at other people's profile, and you, again, coming back to comparison, you see this top hits of someone's life and you compare the worst parts of your life to the best parts of someone else's life, and it doesn't match up, because it wouldn't. Why would the worst parts of your life match up to the best parts of someone else's life? And then it perpetuates this idea of, I'm not good enough, my life sucks, I don't do enough, I don't travel enough, I'm not pretty enough, like all of these different aspects. And like with you, like taking a break from Instagram and coming back and kind of changing what you put out online and stuff, you've spoken to me about noticing like how constructed it all is, and like I feel like loads of people do this, like you take thousands and thousands of pictures as like selfies, or to get the right angle, you like twist your body in like all different ways, and then you post one picture and without any context or without any explanation as to like, this took me like 3 hours to take and I still wasn't happy with it. Like, even just like a little comment like that on your picture, even if it's like a really nice like edited picture or something, you just be transparent about it, because not only does it kind of show people that it's normal, but it also, I feel like, connects you a bit more with the people that you interact with on social media.
For sure. I think like that is good, but also we need more relatable, like
Right.
putting a caption next to something and saying this took me ages is all very well, but the image is still what people are seeing.
Right.
And so, and a lot of our lives, like as human beings, we're very visual creatures. So like things we see influences us a lot. So if we're seeing like we can understand something like, oh yeah, that took ages to take. But as long as we see something physically in front of us, we believe it.
Right.
So say you took a picture and captioned it like that, I would still, even if you said, oh, this took me ages, I'd still be like, oh, but that's what she looks like.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether you said I've edited it and photoshopped it or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay.
But if you're creating that content anyway,
Oh yeah,
then
be
it's much more
transparent.
better to be
Right, of
transparent
course,
about
of course. Like, not everyone can like delete their Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Of course not. It can be a very toxic environment, but also I think people will need to. Well, I say people. I mean we. I mean me too. We need to understand that posting off of the back of our insecurities, all that is doing is feeding into other people's insecurities. So me posting all of these pictures in these certain angles and with like certain like makeup on or these clothes or whatever it is to make myself look a certain way that I want to look, but it isn't true. I don't look like that. Based off my own insecurities, because I want other people to think that I look that good. All that is doing is letting other people see that and paying into their insecurities of, I don't look that way, but I don't look that way.
yeah.
So I think it's important to remember that when we're posting based off our insecurities, we're just helping other people add to theirs, which is like a lose-lose situation for everyone.
Right.
And also it's going to make our insecurities worse, because I don't know about you, but the more I would post things that weren't true, the more I'd be like, why do I not look like that? And that almost presents like an unrealistic image of myself.
Yeah, because you almost like compare yourself to yourself.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, social media has its positives, but it can be so incredibly toxic.
It's funny you say that, because I was thinking the other day about how much I get my kind of like body image confidence from other people's approval and from people telling me that I look good. So if I'm like dressed, like I get ready on my own and no one's around, I'll go out of the house feeling unattractive and feeling like I don't look good because no one's told me that I look good. And it's just like so, and like I credit a lot of that to Instagram and social media, because like sometimes I would post a picture and then I would get told by a few people that I look good, so I'd be like, okay, I look good, like I can go out and like be confident. But then, I mean, you've seen me like out in the world and like how like much I can like get in my head and like lack confidence, and a lot of that is due to how I feel I look.
Yeah.
And how I feel I'm being perceived by people based on the way I look. I was just saying that to kind of reiterate how much social media does influence in someone's life. And this is someone who's very consciously aware of it and very consciously anti like toxicity around body image. So for someone that isn't aware of it and someone that doesn't understand kind of those dynamics, I can only imagine it's 10 times worse.
And I think that as women, we forget that because we've got so much negativity surrounding our own body image, and we're so almost like angry about it and about the way that it's been affecting us,
that we forget that men receive it too from us and from other men. And so we were talking the other day about like heightism, is that a word? Heightism? And the way that we can be guilty of judging men, especially in like the dating scene, for not being tall enough, which I don't think people think about enough, but it is, you see it in like microaggressions all the time about like, even just in like online dating where you see it in people's bios, like 6 foot plus or whatever, like that number one, women specify it, like what they're looking for. And the fact that men feel the need to specify
how tall they are.
Right, it's a supply and demand thing, isn't it? So we supply.
No, we demand.
We demand and they supply. Fuck like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we demand that they be above. They be. Oh my god, am I like Shakespeare? we demand.
I think that was right.
I mean, yeah, it is, but it just sounds very old English. We demand that they are above 6 foot, and men supply that information as, okay, I have to give this because this is how I will be approved of. Yeah. Which is horrible.
Or even the fact that it's such a normal thing to say, like for a straight woman to say, I'm not going to date someone shorter than me.
Yeah, and we have this like message of looking at couples and being like, oh, he's shorter than her, which I'm totally guilty of, and like all of this stuff we talk about, I am guilty of, and I will communicate how frustrated I am about something, but I will be guilty of paying into it too.
Right.
I 100% do that. But I think what's important is looking at the way that we do these things and discussing it and talking about it and saying, yeah, I recognise that I do this.
From it,
yeah. But yeah, like it's something that I have to remember not to do. Like it's really natural because it's like, you know, when something's like almost like a reflex. It's
because
really,
it's so normalised.
Which is just horrible. Absolutely horrible. And also, you know what's crazy? It's almost worse. It's not as normalised as negative body image in women, but it's almost worse than the things that we do to women. Because with women, your weight can fluctuate. The way that you look can fluctuate. Like, you can put makeup on, you can have plastic surgery, that there's a lot of different things that we are able to do to change things. But men can't change their height.
Right.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't argue that it's worse. I think. Shut up. No, I'm joking.
no, it's fine.
I like it's definitely different, and I agree that there's areas in which it's more acceptable, for example, for a woman to wear makeup to cover an insecurity on her face, or to wear heels if she feels like she's too small and stuff. But at the same time, tall women have an issue with men saying, oh, I don't want to date a tall woman, and feel like they can't wear heels, even though they might like heels, but they don't want to make themselves look even taller. And that's, again, another thing that can't change. But I agree in that there's a big stigma around men and cosmetic surgery, men and makeup, and or even like men and dyeing their hair. Like, women dye their hair all the time and it's like totally accepted, but it's almost judged in a negative way if a man dyes his hair any colour, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then all of those things that are accepted for a woman, I wouldn't argue that they're necessarily good things. Like, to be able, for it to be accepted to have cosmetic surgery and for it to be accepted to do makeup, like, I always think about why those things are accepted, and actually they are a product of being forced, particularly with makeup, being forced into
changing the way that
you look. And then with cosmetic surgery, it's about being criticised for the way that you look, so deciding to permanently change something that you're insecure about. So I think both are
Yeah,
very
that's
bad,
true,
but they are different.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to recognise that it's not just a women's issue, and it's like very, very prevalent in men as well.
Yeah, because we're not at the end of a conversation about body image in women, but it's definitely more recognised in women,
Right.
that it is a product of the
and it's
patriarchy.
starting
and-
to,
yeah. Whereas for men,
it's still something that a lot of men feel they can't talk about.
yeah, for sure. And a lot of women don't talk about it because
Mm.
they haven't had that empathy of like how it must feel for a man to be brought up.
Yeah.
To be brought up in a patriarchy as well, because the patriarchy affects men too.
Yeah.
It's not just the way that men have controlled the world, it's the way that the world has been controlled for this certain image, not
Right.
against.
For a certain type of man. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just insane that like people's bodies can be fashionable or unfashionable. Because like your body isn't something that's like an easy, you can go out and change it.
On a day-to-day
like,
basis.
Like clothes, you can buy a new top, or and so you have like fashions with those. But then with your body, like people have different body shapes. So I couldn't just go out and, no matter how long I trained in the gym and stuff, I couldn't come out of the gym with an properly hourglass figure, because my body's just not that shape. And that's not where like my fat deposits or where my muscle grows and stuff like that. And it's just, I think, so unhealthy that there's almost this written down tick list of this is what's fashionable, so this is what you should aspire to be, even if it's unachievable for you.
I think it's really weird that we value our bodies in the way that it looks and less in the way that it works. So I know that a lot of women, obviously I haven't had a baby so I can't really speak from experience, but I know that a lot of women who have had a baby have this pressure to kind of bounce back, so that their body can go back to like pre-pregnancy or even better than that. And number one, it's perpetuated badly by celebrities, which I just think like you have a massive responsibility to have like as a platform that big to encourage women to not have that pressure, but instead you use it like opposite, and you like start taking pictures and videos and posting it online of like your body and like your snapback. And I just think like, what are you actually trying to achieve here? Are you just trying to guilt people into feeling bad that their body hasn't snapped back? But also, you've just had a baby. Like when women have babies, like that is something that is like so incredible, and like your body has done so much, but you find this like idea of just not valuing what your body has done, and instead basing the value on how it looks and the aesthetic of it, which is just very, very strange and a massive social construct in today's society. And that's not what your body was made for. Like, I sometimes think, like, what if we couldn't see our bodies and we were just spirits, like we were just souls? Like, how would the world be different in that way?
I think about it all the time, about how would I feel about myself if I kind of grew up isolated, like alone on a desert island or something, like without any societal expectations. Would I even think about my body at all? Probably not. Like I probably wouldn't, it wouldn't even pass my mind about what my body looked like on a day-to-day basis.
There's this culture that we have of like shaming, and I don't know why we have it, but we have it in so many different ways, but predominantly in like body shaming. So like we used to have a huge, I mean we still kind of do, but we used to have a huge culture of fat shaming. And now we've come into a culture of skinny shaming as well. And it's really interesting because if you look into the physiology of your body, it's not so black and white as if you look like this, that means that inside this is how your body works. And so I think it's a really simplified way of looking at like health, where people can look at someone who's like extreme, one of the extremes, and make a decision about the health of their body. Or
Yeah,
them.
and also you as an outsider, why is it in any way your space to comment on somebody else's health? That's their business, and that's for them and their doctor to discuss. That's not for you to comment on. Like, even if you are genuinely concerned for someone's health, unless it's like a close personal family member, and even in that circumstance you have to be careful about how you present that argument and how you approach it in order to, you know, keep that like person safe. But unless it's somebody close to you, how in any way do you think commenting on that person's body is going to help them and their health?
Why is it any of your business?
Right. It's like just one that I've seen recently is people commenting about Lizzo and people arguing that she's, what's the phrasing of it? That she's promoting obesity just by existing. And it's like, no, she's promoting her music and she's promoting self-love. And she's not in any way going like around telling people to eat really unhealthily or telling people to be fat. She's never said any of that. She's just said love yourself for yourself. And she's got her own fitness routine, she's got her own nutritionist, and her health is her business, and it's not for us to comment on. And so you see it all the time in magazines. And like, let's talk about Adele for a second.
Oh my god, yeah.
The headlines when Adele posted, I think it was her birthday or something, she posted a picture on Instagram for her birthday, and all of the headlines were about her weight and how beautiful she looked and it was like such positive messaging, but only based on what she looked like. Didn't say like where the like picture was posted or what it was posted for or anything like that. Didn't mention anything to do with her career or her achievements. Only said how beautiful she looked and like how healthy she looked because she'd lost a bit of weight. And it just plays into the system of your value is in how you look and your value is in your body, not in your achievements.
And she didn't post that picture for approval of her weight.
Not at all.
It wasn't a weight reveal.
No.
It was, this is my 32nd birthday or whatever it was.
Right.
And this is what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, it was laughable the way that the media jumped on it. And also, whether you're positively affirming someone or negatively breaking them down based on what they look like and based on their body image, based on their weight, they're both not, they don't have a space.
Right.
They're both not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're congratulating someone on losing weight or, you know, saying to someone that you look really bad because you've put on weight,
Mm-hmm.
neither of them are okay. And I think we've got this really weird culture where we've normalised congratulating people on losing weight, and all
like
that
how
is
common is the phrase, "Oh, you look so good. Have you lost any weight?"
and all that is perpetuating fat shaming, and skinny equals healthy or skinny equals good. And I think I've only started to recently understand that because obviously a few years ago when I lost weight, I just remember how many, and this was like, it's really difficult because it came from like family members, it came from friends, like close friends, it came from everyone. And I don't look at everyone individually and say like, oh, you're a horrible person for congratulating me on losing weight. Because also, as a side note, I paid into it too, because I created an Instagram page. I created that. I did a reveal. I did before and after pictures. I did all of this stuff. Obviously, looking back now, I realised my part in it and something that I didn't want to, like, I didn't want to do. I didn't want to continue. But I was getting compliments left, right and centre for losing weight. And it wasn't like you were really unhealthy before and now you're healthy, so well done. it was, you were overweight and now you've lost weight, so well done. And I think it is really difficult to open your eyes to when it comes from people close to you, which is why, like, it's very difficult to say to people, like, don't say that to me. You know, don't say that. I just think that it's everyone's individual responsibility to realise the effect of the words that they say to people. And looking back now, I realise that I encouraged it, but it was also like, again, it was like placing my value in my weight loss, which, okay, it was a lot of dedication that it took, and it was really difficult, and I was proud of myself for achieving it, because I was like determined to stick to this thing, and that was good. But I like to like talk to people about the negative effects of it as well. Like, one time when I was at work, in the first few weeks of starting to like, I was eating like about 1,200 calories a day, and I was training twice a day. So I was going to the gym in the morning and at lunch, or at lunch and after work. And so I was weightlifting and I was doing cardio, and I was eating 1,200 calories a day. So I would say probably I was like, my calorie consumption overall was probably about 700 calories a day, based on the training I was doing as well.
Yeah.
Which is so damaging, so bad. And if you do any research into like nutrition and like metabolisms, it can damage you like for life if you do things like that. But there's this diet culture that we have where it's like, you just have to get skinny fast. And I remember I was sitting at work a few weeks in, and I just felt really sick. And I like hadn't really eaten anything that day. Like, I probably had like, I don't know, like coffee and like maybe porridge or something. But I had shocked my system so much in going from a certain way of eating to suddenly cutting out so much and like barely eating anything, that my body was like, what the hell is going on? And I felt so sick, and I was going to the toilet. I think I went to the toilet like maybe 5 times in the space of like an hour, because I felt like I was going to be sick, but like I couldn't be sick. Like, nothing was happening, but I just literally, you know, when you feel like you're about to throw up, I was like that. And I was literally sitting in the work toilets, like ready to be sick, and like nothing was happening. And I just put it down to like, oh, that's just what happens, like when you shock your body into like, oh, it's fine. But that's not natural. That's not okay. Like, how are we normalizing things like that? So I like to like fill people in on stuff like that, because it's not okay to really struggle through something based on a goal of losing weight.
And I think it also plays into capitalism, my favourite topic, because of diet culture and the diet industry, and how much of a huge industry that is. And you can so plain and simply see how much body image affects people by looking at how profitable the diet industry is, as well as like the skinny tea industry and all of these kind of quick fix solutions to weight loss, none of which are effective, or none of which are even designed to be effective,
and none of which are available to use long term.
Right, because the people creating it don't want it to be effective. They don't want to solve your problem. Not that it is a problem, but it's like your mental view of yourself, because they want you to carry on buying their product. So if they sold a product that, you know, magically made you lose weight permanently, then they wouldn't be able to continue to profit off you. So they're gonna create something that you need to rely on, you need to almost get addicted to in order to continue to profit off you. And I think it's like, I always find it so hard to know how to react when people tell me that they're on a diet, or that they're doing this diet, or they're trying out this like new regime or like food regime and stuff, because I just think about like who are they buying that off of, or where have they been told that that's what you should do, particularly with like young people. Like there's this girl that I work with who's 17, and she's always like trying out different diets, and she says that she's counting her calories, or she's not eating between this time and this time in the day, or she's only having one meal a day, or various different, like it's always something different. And it just like, it really hurts me to see someone so young putting their body through that and knowing that it's not gonna change for them, it's not gonna massively affect. There's always going to be something new that she's going to try, because I know that none of those are going to be a long-term solution, because diets aren't, like, largely speaking, you go on a diet and it helps you lose a bit of weight, and then once you've lost the weight, you're feeling good about yourself, so you go off the diet and then you put the weight back on, and then and having that as well, having that, I guess, yo-yo between being on a diet and being off a diet is really bad for your health as well, and really bad for your metabolism and all of these different issues. It can cause some serious damage in the long term, because you're not having that consistency with your body, and you're consistently shocking your body in different ways, and your digestive system and all sorts.
Again, it's like not tackling the source of the problem.
Right.
It's like tackling the symptoms. It's like, I place my value in how I look, so I'm going to
do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I'm going to do this in order to lose weight, when actually what you need to tackle is why we're placing our value in that, and why we're not placing our value in other things that we're doing.
Right, and in our health. I've got no issue with people maybe changing their diet because of their health, or cutting out certain particularly sugary, fatty foods in their diet because they're worried about their health. I'm not trying to criticise that in any way. I'm criticising the motive of doing it to get skinny, essentially.
A few years ago, I started thinking about the way that I treated food, and like the relationship I had to food, and the fact that it was like predominantly emotional. And I had to come to like a realization that I was definitely like an emotional eater. So like when I feel upset about something, I eat, which like I wouldn't actually say is a bad thing, because like sometimes that's the comfort that you need. I just scratched myself on my tattoo. Ow. But I think that that's one of the biggest things that we have in our culture, is like we have a lot of messaging again that says, if you feel upset, have food or have something to like make yourself feel better. And I just feel like a lot of the people in our society are vulnerable to that sort of messaging, and we're kind of taking advantage of them, especially like the food industry. And in order to have like a healthy relationship with your food, like I always think back to the fact that food is supposed to like sustain us, and when I remember that, it like, I'm not trying to sit on this throne and be like holier than thou and be like, oh, I have a wonderful relationship with food, because I don't. 100% I don't. But once you start researching like micronutrients and like the reasons why there are certain minerals and nutrients and vitamins that you need to get in order to like continue your body working effectively, then you start to realize like all the like the processed food and the junk food and the stuff that you eat that doesn't have those minerals and nutrients, blah 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 blah, in, you're kind of wasting your intake on stuff that isn't really helping your body at all.
I think the like main message that we're like, the reason we wanted to talk about this is to highlight the issues with what already exists out there, and encourage like transparency and questioning those things, and talking about how we can be better for the people that look up to us, or even just the people that we interact with, how we can be better to ourselves and be better to them, and encourage. Well, because body image plays into just mental health in general, and it's such a huge issue, mental health, and I feel like you see lots of people posting about mental health charities and about suicide rates and all of these really important issues, which is great, and it's great that people are being more vocal about it, but we need to start having conversations about how we as individuals can change our actions to help that, because all of these different things feed into mental health, and I'm not saying in any way that body image is the only thing that causes people to feel badly about themselves, but it is a big factor of it. And if you can play even a small part of standing back from that and saying, no, I'm not going to play into that, then you don't know who you can be affecting, and you don't know whose mental health you could be helping.
Yeah.
My mind is not working today.
I think, like we said, our voice can be like so effective without us knowing. And for us to create a demand for something means that, like, companies or, you know, whatever it is, the society has to create the supply. If we don't want to see that chain of events happening constantly, then companies and authorities and the people who run the world have to deliver, I think. So your own individual voice, even though it might seem small, can be effective. Which is why, like I said at the beginning, it's so important to look at the way that you can make a statement, just in the choices that you make or the choices that you don't make. So, yeah.
And also, like, find better things to compliment people on.
Yeah.
Like, ask someone about what books they've been reading. Ask someone about if they've watched anything good recently. Ask someone about what they're doing outside of work, what their hobbies are.
How's your knowledge expanding?
Right. Don't just... And I'm not saying don't compliment someone on the way they look or what they're wearing, or if you want to compliment someone, but just, you know, think about, if that's the only thing you're ever complimenting about them, how could that be affecting them, and how could that be affecting their self-worth and what they place value in themselves. And think about what you want people to value in themselves and focus on that.
So we've come to the end of this episode on body image. Hopefully we've explored like a little fraction of the like negativity that surrounds body image in today's society, but obviously we won't have covered everything, as always. If you found this episode interesting, we'd really like to hear your thoughts, and also if there are other things that we should talk about in the future, because we won't be able to get to everything in one single episode, which is why we like to do more. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we will see you next time.
I almost did that. Bye.
Oh. Hello. It's like actions matter. What? Actions are stronger than words.
Too loud. I mean, that's a very basic one.
Alexander Hamilton.
I must be a friend to you then, because I cannot give people compliments.
No. Yeah, it's just a subtle way of moving, like, Phoebe, you need to turn it off anymore.
Reality. Wow. Oh my god, words are hard today.
You know, add to the topic, so. Hello, doggy.
I've got brownie in my teeth now.
No,
Is it around my mouth?
no. Just sabotage you.
No, you're fine. You look good. Body image.